Moving forward, we got two movies to tackle, two lighthearted movies compared to how we just spent the last
Yeah.
25 minutes. We're going to have to probably go a little shorter on these than we normally do. I would say maybe about 15 minutes each, 20 minutes each. We'll start with Bill and Ted Face the Music, the long-awaited third movie in the Bill and Ted trilogy. Man, look at you. What the hell you got Wayne's World up there for? What you got Wayne's World up there?
It's Bill and Ted. What are you talking about? That's Bill and Ted.
What the hell? Oh,
It's Bill and Ted, man.
I got buffoons for co-hosts. At any rate, oh man. But moreover, Bill and Ted Face the Music is now streaming on video on demand, premium video on demand platforms, and also at some select drive-ins. I think some theaters too are showing it.
They are. Yeah.
Long-awaited sequel. Been a while, to say the least, 29 years since Bogus Journey came out back in 1991. And I remember them opining they were going to do Bill and Ted 3 back in 2009. I remember the article on a message board. It was like they're writing the script for Bill and Ted 3. I didn't think it would take 10 years plus a pandemic before we saw it, but here it is. I got to be honest. I saw Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure years ago, rewatched it recently, never saw Bogus Journey up until a couple weeks ago. Bill and Ted was good, but it never stuck out to me like Beavis and Butthead, Wayne's World, a lot of the other duos.
Yeah.
It never jumped out to me like that. Like, I got my time traveling fix with Back to the Future more so than Bill and Ted. It's not that there's anything wrong with it, but like, I just couldn't connect as well with that as I could like Wayne and Garth, you know. But Bill and Ted Face the Music, I got to be honest, I'm going to say right now, I think it's hard to say it's a great film because it isn't. I say it's enjoyable. I say it's a definitely enjoyable little romp down memory lane. There's a lot of things about it that I did enjoy. Couple things are a little weak, but at the same time, I think there's a high smile factor here, and there's a good genial nature to this. I'll start with Dom, because you got a look on your face. What do you have to say about Bill and Ted Face the Music?
This is one of those movies where I just call it dumb, stupid fun, and it's just I could go hard on this movie, and it's one of those where it's kind of like an Adam Sandler situation almost, where some of his not so great movies where you think, okay, how do I like rate this? How do I approach this? Do I take it as seriously as I do, a standard movie, or do I just have fun with it and I set my expectations real low? And that's honestly how it was. That's how it was for Face the Music. And that's honestly how I approached or how I wound up approaching the first Bill and Ted movie. I saw that when I was in high school. And I just remember like, wow, this feels very 80s before I even had a concept of what that really meant. And it's like, this just feels so of its time, the first movie. And then by the time I never saw the second movie. Actually, we should probably go around and say I have only seen the first and this one now, obviously. Has anyone seen the second one?
Yes.
Bogus Journey? You've seen it? Okay, you guys have seen it. All right, cool. But I've only seen the first one, and I was just treating it as a continuation of that, really, and then maybe some side jokes here. And really, it was just dumb, stupid fun. And what got me through it was its earnestness. That's really what I have to land on, because there's it's just a cram-packed movie. There's that image of everyone cramming into the phone booth, whether it's Bill and Ted and their wives or all these historical figures from the first movie too. But when it comes to the plot of the third movie, it is just so thick with just really all these thin plot ideas. This movie works a lot better as a storyboard. It's a lot more fun as a storyboard, and then when you see it play out, it's like, oh, okay, cool, that was pleasant. But really, the standout performances here, it's just Bill and Ted themselves, with Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, who honestly they nailed it. I was kind of dreading, because I didn't watch any trailers or anything or any fan stuff beforehand, and I was really dreading, like, oh God, are they gonna play it like are they gonna overdo it? Are they gonna try and maybe change it up and make it very 21st century? But no, it was like kind of going back in time perfectly, and I'm kind of glad they did, because how the plot of this movie played out, with kind of its A story, B story, and almost a C story. It was like, okay, you're really doing this. I understand this is 2020, and now time travel stories are all played out. Um, so you either gotta really hug close to it, like Palm Springs did, or you just do something crazy and wild, which is what Face the Music did. So it was just, I just kind of let that go, and we can get into that. We can easily get into that, but I just let it go, and I fell back into just the old familiar comfort food that is just Bill and Ted being Bill and Ted, and their daughters apparently also doing Bill and Ted, their best impersonations, and just the old dog and trick show. So that's where I land on it. We could go deeper. I'll wait for you guys to lead the charge on that.
Before you chime in, Joe, I'll say that the thing about this too is that I like how it had the same screenwriters from the first two movies came back, Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon. They've waited too long, I think, to give these characters nothing to do. And so I was happy that this movie felt like they tried to do something with the characters. It wasn't just a cash grab. It didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like a lackadaisical retread of Excellent Adventure.
No, it didn't.
They lovingly tributed the late great George Carlin as Rufus. There was a really poignant moment early on in the movie where they kind of say goodbye to him. And also, I think Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves were really itching to jump back in the role. Now, having said that, before I turn it over to you, Joe, I will say I do think that Alex Winter assimilates back into this role a bit better than Keanu Reeves. And it's probably also due because, like, Keanu Reeves, I get kind of annoyed at the fact that, like, the internet's made him, like, the sensational meme kind of character. And, like, he's kind of embraced it in a weird way. He almost feels like he's acting stiff. Like, I don't know why. I can't even really say it. He feels stiffer, like Keanu Reeves, than he had like back in the 90s and the 2000s. Ever since he started to become like a thing on the internet, he almost feels like he's playing into that sort of meme facade. It's really weird. I don't know. He's not bad here, but I definitely liked Alex Winter a bit more in his role, resuming his role, than I did Reeves. But general impressions, Joe, take it away.
I just want to jump onto that whole Keanu point. It does feel like Keanu, like, his whole career now is just taking the line from The Matrix, "Whoa, I know Kung Fu," and just, like, has been stretching it out as, like, performances for, like, ever now. But for me, I guess I'm going to be the one who's not excellent here. I hate to say it, but, like, the first film I like a lot. I think it's a product of its time. I have a lot of fun watching it. I actually rewatched it before watching this one because it's on Stars. If any of you out there want to watch it. And then I immediately, once I finished it, I did a double feature and then watched this one. And I gotta say, I love the first act of this movie, where it's Bill and Ted, like, kind of coming to terms that they failed, and they're getting old, and, like, you know, all this other stuff. And I love when they go and meet, like, the Time Lords of the future and whatnot, the ones that, like, that help them create that society because they made the most perfect song ever and unified the world. I love that, like, you know, they're telling them, like, yo, what did you guys do? What, like, all these years, what have you been doing? But after that, the film just kind of tanks for me after that. I do like Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves. I think they are great together. Alex Winter does, I think, do a better job jumping back into the role than Keanu does, but them together on screen, I think they're fine. But what the film does with its plots in terms of, like, A plot, B plot, and even C at points that Dom was pointing out, the whole thing with Bill and Ted is it's a loop the entire movie. It's them going to the future, trying to find the song that they make to unite the world. And what it is they go forward a certain amount of years, they meet themselves in the future, and the future selves hate them. They're, like, washed up versions, even more so than they are now. And then they go forward in the future, it's even worse. They go forward in the future, it's even worse. And it's like, it's just that over and over again. And it's kind of funny, but then the B plot with their daughters, and I hate to say it, what a waste of, like, those actresses. I love Samara Weaving from Ready or Not. I absolutely love that film. And the daughter that plays Keanu Reeves, I think she nails his mannerisms completely. But they basically just did a quick, like, college humor sketch of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes.
Like,
That's great. Yeah.
It's literally
That's
just that. It's just taking their that first film of taking important figures through time, bring them to the present to do something. And what really sucks is that like with that first film, for me, when you get near the end of the movie, you start to kind of feel like it's kind of running out of energy, and then it does the school presentation that they have in order to like pass high school, and then like it's funny, and then the movie just wraps up perfectly. Here, you get to this big performance at the end, and I don't know for you guys, but for me, it felt like it was just going on forever. Like a new problem was occurring, and they had to solve it. And I'm just like, oh Jesus Christ! And then like I'm like, when's this gonna end? And the movie just like literally, as soon as like they just end that performance, they go good night, and the movie just ends. There's no like wrap up or anything. I'm
it's
like,
an abrupt
I'm like, well, damn. I'm like,
least.
I at least want like some closure with some of these people.
Literally the last 30 seconds, that final sequence, that shot, even like if we're getting really detailed, just literally ended. I even forget what they said, but it was almost like, and they fixed it.
Boom.
Credits.
It's like ending
your Parasite.
It's like
What the
ending
hell
your
was
whole
that?
like college paper with just a one sentence paragraph to end it on. And your professor goes, "What the hell?"
This isn't a conclusion.
Okay. Here's why I gotta switch back. So I was being nice, Dominic, and I was just trying to like let it go. But Joe, you hit it right on the head, dude. The reason why that B plot with the daughters pissed me off so much was because yes, they were just doing a college humor sketch of the first movie, but the thing that didn't make it work is because you didn't have time to spend with all of these cool characters, and I'm like, dude, Jimi Hendrix, Louis Armstrong, and Mozart jamming out together, that would be the sickest thing. And then like have the Bill and Ted stand-ins of the daughters just kind of doing their thing and just like on the side geeking out. Like that would be so cool. I did appreciate how I don't know if this was accentuated in the first movie that much, but I do love how they the two daughters here were portrayed as like not as kind of like dorks, as aloof, but at the same time they knew their shit about music.
Yeah,
they were pulling out references. I actually paused the movie when I forgot the name. So I was like, oh Dad, your theremin playing was like on par with this name. And I actually paused the movie, looked up the name, like, yeah, no, she was a 1920s novelty virtuoso on the theremin. That's awesome. I was like, I know those types, those prog rock, math rock, obsessive types who like know names. Yeah. Oh, dude, I know a few of them. And it is like, I connected with that really well. It just sucks that was pretty much all the time we had to spend with them. And then from there on, they're just carbon copies. I'm okay with them being carbon copies of their dads. That's fine. The problem is we didn't have time to see them come into their own, because you're just forcing the first movie into this B plot as like as a backup so that people get their fill of the first movie. It's like, no, do something different. You already did that.
No,
sucks.
There is something to be said about that, because that's probably my biggest complaint too that I was going to touch on, is that there's a lot of characters here, a lot of dynamic characters. Whereas, like you said, in Excellent Adventure, you do get a lot of historical figures. The difference though is that like there's that main montage in the mall with Genghis Khan in the original that kind of gives you like not a great character dive by any means, but it gives you just a glimpse of their personalities. Yeah. There are so many people running around in this movie, and there's so much happening at times that it kind of just gets lost. And the Bill and Ted, the daughters, Bridget Lundy Payne and Samara Weaving, who you might remember from Ready or Not, they do not get the screen time I think they really deserve. I would have gladly taken another 15, 20 minutes if we got a little bit more with them.
Yeah.
Same. And the other point I'll make too, though, and this is what really kind of saved the movie for me too, the title, Face the Music, and how it's employed in the movie. I like the fact that there is this whole reckoning with destiny in the movie, because you got to think the people that grew up with Bill and Ted now are like in their 30s and mid to late, maybe 30s, maybe early 30s or so. So they're at that point now where it's like it starts to really think about, people in their 30s, they start to think about their future, their legacy, what they're leaving behind, stuff like that. And sooner or later, we all have to face the music in some ways and like think about our directions in life.
Yeah.
And this movie does that. And like Bill and Ted, who are such genial, fun-loving guys who I think I said in my review, preach the gospel and live and breathe the gospel of friendship and creativity.
They do.
The downfall, though, is that like Was it worth it, and did you succeed to your potential? And they have to reckon with that in multiple different set pieces that I at very least found amusing and somewhat clever, especially coming from the writers that gave us these characters in the first place.
Yeah. I will say,
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
of the plots, like, Bill and Ted do have the best plot. Like, even though I say it is a loop,
Mhm.
it is like
Easily.
seeing them like kind of just come to terms like, wow, we really are like kind of dumb. Like, and what I do like that they didn't change this for the third film. Bill and Ted are definitely like man children, but they're so lovable and they're so kind and nice.
Yeah.
Like, they're not like
Yes.
Will Ferrell and John C. Riley and like
Oh God.
Holmes and Watson, where like they're just screaming the entire time and just being a man child like that. No, like they're so lovably dumb. Like they almost like are like puppies basically, even at this age. Like it's just like you do love seeing them. It's just I really wish they gave them more to do. I wish honestly they traveled with the daughters to go do this, and like it became like about this whole
Yeah.
thing about passing on like a torch almost. Like, you know, something like that. Like you're coming to terms, you have responsibilities, you have a family now.
They kind
Because
of did it,
they
but it's
kind of
so
did it,
it's so
but
vapid
they
and fleeting.
yeah, they kind of do it, but they like what they do is they let the wives do their own plot line that like barely gets anything, and
Gets
like
nothing.
and like it doesn't even mean anything by the end of it. um, yeah, no, for me though, like I was just kind of I shouldn't say I wasn't disappointed. It wasn't like I had high hopes with this, but it did make me go again. This is a property that we brought back, and by the end of the movie, I was like, honestly, I would have been fine with like I don't know, honestly, a college humor sketch with these guys. I would be like, oh, that was fun, that was cute. But an hour and 30 minutes, I was like, yeah, like it's okay. I did enjoy seeing William Sadler come back as Death. I thought he did a great job
Yes.
playing that character again. I thought he was
Yeah.
great. He's the best thing about the second film for me, and I thought he was great in this too. And I love the
Yeah,
whole little tension they have with the group.
I like this one, and I know Dom's kind of removed from this conversation. I like this one more than Bogus Journey. I
Same
truly
here.
did because Bogus Journey was a lot of ideas with no direction,
Yeah.
really. It was surreal, which I admire. It had a vision. This one, it's a lot of ideas, a good direction. Like it knows where it's going. This Face the Music knows where it's going. It knows where it wants to end up, but it's just overstuffed.
Yeah.
There's too many ideas. It knows how to get there, but it kind of underdevelops it along the way. Where Bogus Journey had a couple good scenes, but this is a bad defense for somebody who fancies themselves as a film critic. At a certain point, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey just became fucking weird. Like it did. Like took me out of it weird. Like, and to the point where it wasn't really funny and it wasn't really that interesting.
Yeah, it does feel
Like,
like that.
I admire the drastic turn of direction for a slacker comedy sequel. I really do, and I think that Peter Hewitt, I believe, is the director, or Peter. Oh, I got two names in my head. It's either Peter Hewitt or Peter Vasic. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name over here, but yeah, I admire the direction they took for Bogus Journey. I didn't like the end result as much. With Face the Music, I definitely think that the loftier themes here save it, and some of the supporting performances are pretty good. We do have to kind of speed into our, I guess, wraparound final star rating, if you will, to make time for Class Action Park. I will be nice and give 3 for 3 right here. 3 out of 4 stars for Bill and Ted Face the
Wow.
Music. I think it's an acceptably fun comedy that should please most people
Yeah.
that waited this long for a Bill and Ted movie at the end of the day, but it does have its own share of shortcomings.
I'll go next. I do agree with Steve there. I mean, if you're a Bill and Ted fan, like if you've been wanting for this third film to happen for like the longest time, this will be one of the few glowing things and like things you could say about 2020 is like I got Bill and Ted 3 in 2020 at least. Everything else sucked, but at least I got Bill and Ted 3. For me though, as somebody that like kind of is on the same page as Steve, where like for me Back to the Future was more my time travel thing, and in terms of like, you know, a rocker comedy type of thing, Wayne's World was my thing. Bill and Ted 3 was just kind of like the redheaded stepchild of all those franchises. But I loved it still. I still love Bill and Ted, the first one. I think the second one's not that good. This one, for me, it's really hard to say because there are moments I do like about this film, and I do like how much they did stay true to their character and everything, and I almost want to commend them for that. But overall, as a film, I do think back to some of the other things that we've gotten back. Like, I think, because I was looking at Keanu Reeves' career, like, okay, like, we're getting the Matrix reboot soon and everything, too. I was looking through, I'm like, man, Toy Story 4, I forgot he was in that. And, like, I think about that film and how it came back after having a perfect conclusion and still gave us something. And I know that's Pixar, and that's a whole different playing field and everything, but I'm like, damn, you guys were this close to actually giving us something, though, with this whole, like, they have to face their age and everything, and you dropped it and you abandoned it. I'll be nice, though, as well. I'll give it 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Ooh, I thought you'd be grumpy on this one.
Yeah, I really did too. Dom, send us home, or at least send us to Action Park.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll go flying into that. Yeah, it's dumb, stupid fun, and I went into it with that attitude, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Not that I was that invested in Bill and Ted to begin with, but the one thing that does stick out to me from the first movie when I saw it way back when was just Bill and Ted being just having fun, being two dudes I could look up to, imagine them as, big brothers. Like, if they were in my life, yeah, it'd be fun as hell to hang around with and get into stupid trouble. Mess up the timeline, yeah, sure. That's fun too, because even they're getting Socrates to have fun or whatever and have fun and jump around and stuff. But where that winds up here with a really bloated, frustrating fan service, not too hard. They don't lay it on that thick, but just that plot elements, just all of this having to be crammed into a single movie, and not just in a scant 90 minutes too. Although I guess if you brought it out any further, you'd probably make it boring. I don't know. Probably gonna make sacrifices there, but.
Yeah. I feel like if they did make it longer, it would be that. It's just I wish they condensed everything into one story, because then I feel like you could really flesh things out.
It's the catch-22 of if you make it longer, then you just risk of it being a really drudgy 2.5 4 hours or something. But either way, just Bill and Ted being Bill and Ted again, and just this is probably as a result of the pandemic, but just the message of everyone come together, play music. Let's have some fun. Let's just smile. Let's come together as a world community.
Be excellent.
God damn it. God damn it. That's a great message.
Be excellent to each other.
Be excellent to each other. That's timeless, and that's a great message for today. I just wish you could have delivered that in a much better package. 2.5 out of 4 stars. You saved it from a twofer, Joe, with your niceties. You came back to it. Yeah, dude. Yeah. It is what it is. Be excellent.